Hello, you wonderful people. This is Justin. I'm also known as a Cinemaverick, and today I'm going to be talking about the next film in my P.T.A. Ander-Thon. And the film I'm going to be talking about is Punch Drunk Love from 2002. Now, this was a film that Anderson really wanted to depart from what he had been doing, these very sprawling character ensemble pieces, and he really wanted to focus on he really wanted to do kind of a romance with Adam Sandler. He specifically wanted to work with Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler, up to this point, had been involved in stuff like The Waterboy, Happy Gilmore, like really like kind of lowbrow comedies. He had, of course, been on Saturday Night Live, and Anderson had actually been with some of the writers on Saturday Night Live trying to get into their process so that he could eventually work on this film. And this film is really one of the oddest in Anderson's filmography, really, because it's kind of like a romantic comedy, but like an art house romantic comedy with Adam Sandler. And I believe Anderson's actually described as an art house Adam Sandler movie, which makes it even more bizarre. And really, the premise of it is you have this character played by Sandler. His name is Barry Egan. He runs his own business of like novelty items. He's not like really poor, but he's not as successful as he wants to be. And he really has this he's really this very lonely character and a very angry character. He has definitely been building up a lot of this anger and hostility over the course of his life, and it's sort of about this character finding love, and it gives way to these surreal flights of fancy throughout the movie. It's even less grounded, I think, in the real world than than maybe either Magnolia or Boogie Nights, believe it or not. But I really think it's that because it doesn't focus on a ton of characters and really more just on one character. There's some other characters too, but I think they're really, in some ways, they help reflect upon the main character. And I guess it's because of that, it's a lot more focused, a lot more. It's a narrower focus, but it's that much more specific and interesting because it is about this one character. I love what I like about the film is that I love the way it looks. Of course, it was shot by Robert Elswit, who had worked with Anderson on all his previous films. And the thing you'll definitely tell is the colors are very distinct. They really stick out. And Adam Sandler's wearing this blue suit throughout the whole thing, which is really funny, and a lot of characters are constantly teasing him about it. And of course, his love interest, Lena, is played by Emily Watson. She wears this kind of red dress most of the time. You really notice those colors are very distinct, and I feel like that is sort of a reflection of the way that these characters are very distinct. And it also has to do with the way that sort of colors used in the film. There's these kind of like visual interludes in the movie where the picture kind of dissolves into just colors, into various colors, and I feel like that's a reflection of the way these characters maybe threaten to dissolve themselves into these emotions, and especially the Barry Egan character and the way he threatens to either give way to violence or succumb to delusion. It's really it's a very surreal film. I love the music in this, the way the music is used in the movie. It's funny. It makes me think of two movies from 2014 that I don't know, may have been influenced by this movie. I'm not sure. One is Birdman, which I saw, which has like this propulsive drum score to accompany it, and you definitely see that in Punch Drunk Love because it really keeps this tension going of, this character, this Barry Egan character, threatening to break at any moment. But and I guess the other film that I would cite is also Under the Skin, which had this kind of dissonant, but strangely beautiful score. And you see there are little moments in Punch Drunk Love where it threatens to get very dissonant, and I think it keeps you on your toes, even when it seems like everything is going well for this romance. There's still something else behind it. There's still the fact that these characters are bringing their very damaged selves, particularly the Barry character, to this relationship. Um, and I think Lena is given her due as well. She is kind of seen through the eyes of Barry, but I think what's interesting is we do get a lot of great moments Anderson gives us of just focusing on her. There's a moment where she meets Barry for the first time. Well, not for the first time, but basically is formally introduced to Barry for the first time, and makes it. It's a very awkward encounter. The camera follows her out to her car, and you see her make a decision, and that's a credit to Emily Watson too. Like that, really showing us that moment of, all right, I'm going to make a decision right now, and it may change the way things in my life are going for the better. And she walks back in, and she talks to Barry again. And they set up a date, and it's like I really like that kind of moment. I also love the moments when the two of them embrace after they reconcile in one moment, and the camera just focuses on Emily Watson's face, and you don't typically see that in a romantic comedy. You typically see, you typically see just these two characters being equal, both kind of succumbing to this embrace, and a sense of closure. And I love how Anderson gives us that moment of like, what's going on in her mind at that moment. Particularly because of what she's seen from Barry. She's seen the good, she's seen some of the potential bad, even though nothing really terrible has happened between the two of them. There's still these little moments of hostility. So I really like that. I really like. I think the what's also really, I guess, bizarre about this movie is the way that he incorporates these really bizarre plot lines. Like there's a whole thing about the Adam Sandler character Barry Egan taking advantage of this healthy choice pudding promotion, that basically you purchase these products and you get like a certain amount of freaking flyer miles through American Airlines, and he realizes he can just choose like the least expensive product and build up all these points, and that'll exceed. He'll be set for life in terms of airfare, and he really wants to use that because that's what Lena does. Is she travels a lot. She doesn't have a whole lot of time to settle down, which may be part of the reason why she's drawn to Barry. But anyway, yeah, so like I said, you have that kind of bizarre thing going on. You have this whole thing where he's being extorted by this woman who he called the sex line, and as opposed to talking about sex, he talks about his life because of how chronically lonely he is, and it's very pathetic, but also kind of sweet at the same time. Like he's just kind of used, and he really does respect the woman he's talking to, of course, until she ends up extorting him. Then there's a whole thing there. But I really like how that it kind of amplifies what's going through his head in terms of how he deals with the world and how he feel, and his isolation from that world, his wariness of that world, and really is kind of like, I think, echoes his sort of violent past and potential future. So, I really like how Anderson uses and it's so bizarre, and I'm sure for some people, I could see this film not working for a lot of people because it's so surreal, even more so than, like I said, than his last couple of movies. I think Sandler is really great here as well as as Barry Egan, because he really does. I feel like it's not that different a character from what Sandler's played. He's a little more pathetic, maybe, at least initially. But you do see that he has the potential for this real passion, and when I say passion, I mean both of the loving variety, which he genuinely has for the Lena character, but also this potential anger that can just kind of burst at any moment. So that's kind of my rambling thoughts on Punch Drunk Love. That's kind of my rambling thoughts on Punch Drunk Love. It's it's I feel like it's the kind of film that I don't know if it's going to work for everybody, but it worked for me very well because I think it takes the typical romantic comedy formula and really injects it with something genuine and psychological, really, uh, in terms of what and I really like how it sort of defeats our expectations of what a romantic comedy should be, and really shows the potential of the movies, which is something I think he's done since the beginning of his career. So those are my thoughts on Punch Drunk Love. I have to say I really love this movie. It's only an hour and a half long, so it's really easy to revisit. I put it up there with Boogie Nights right now. Those two are probably my favorites so far. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Punch Drunk Love. Thank you for watching or listening, and I'll see you again soon. I'll probably get into some more short films from P.T.A. before we get into There Will Be Blood, so that should be fun. So yeah, take care.